we've created downloadable trackers for conservative management and supplements, plus some gorgeous Lipoedema Podcast merch, all designed to support your well-being and celebrate our community.
When you shop through our store, you're also helping us keep the podcast growing and thriving. Explore the range at lipoedemapodcast.com.au.
Welcome to the Lipoedema Podcast. We are your hosts, Shell.
And Tiana, and today I'm pretty excited about this episode because we have my mum on. It's Claire Dezane. Hi, Mum.
Hello. This is a bit weird, isn't it? Hey, Shell.
So Mum was actually my carer when I had my first and second surgery in 2024. And I think it was August and then October, I think.
Yep.
So it's been some time since I've had that surgery. And when we were talking about preparing for this episode, because we wanted to get you on to talk about being a carer for a long time, and we just haven't, it was hard to recall all of the details, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a set of questions, but everyone keep in mind that it was a few years ago now, and I'm well on the other side of my surgery journey. But thank you so much for talking about that.
Thank you. I think the biggest thing for me is my knowledge of lipedema is different now to what it was then. I was just newly introduced to it, so I had no idea what was about to happen really, other than what you were able to tell me. So I think I would probably approach it slightly differently now, but I have more knowledge.
And I think that's a really good point that I want to get into a bit more after we talk about the experience that we did have about how you might have tackled it differently, knowing what you know now after almost 3 years, right? But let's get into it.
Yeah.
So,
but then I also want to say, you were only 9 months into knowing about lipedema.
So true.
That's true,
and think of how much more we've learned now. Even not just the surgery side, just everything. Everything has changed in that time.
Yeah, that's really true. But when I first told you I wanted to have surgery and we're trying to logistically work out how that would happen, in terms of that carer position, can you talk a little bit about what went through your mind? Was that just a natural choice? I can't actually remember if I explicitly asked you or if I was just you're coming with me, Matt's going to stay with the kids. Do you remember?
It went something like that, to be honest. But that's okay. I'm used to that.
Well, for me, you were the natural choice, to be taken care of by your mum, someone who's taken care of you your whole life. I think that's quite natural.
Yeah. And you can be yourself, and you can be happy, sad, grumpy, whatever it is, because I've seen it all.
You sure have. But a glowing referee report, I reckon, if you had to do one about me, I'm sure.
Most definitely.
Okay, so when you first agreed to be a carer, and as we've established, and I don't think there was an agreement process, I think you were just sort of thrown into it. What did you sort of picture in your head the role would involve?
I think it was really just being there for you emotionally, but as well as providing physical comfort and being Italian food.
And the food was delicious. Food is medicine, actually.
I think, wasn't it the first time we'd met in person?
Yeah, because we went live.
And Claire made lunch, and it was this soup that was just amazing. And I'm okay, I'm in love with Claire too now.
She's everyone's
mum.
It's actually called nonna medicine, that soup. That's what we call it.
Mm-hmm. Because Mum used to make it whenever we were sick, and that would be the thing that I would want if I was ever sick. And now I try and replicate a nice chicken soup, but it's different when someone else makes it for you. It's different when you make it for me.
Got different amounts of love in it. Different love.
It does.
That's right.
And so did when surgery day arrived and you were the role of that carer, did it change drastically from what you had imagined in your head?
No, actually not. And I think a lot of that had to do with how well prepared you were and how communicative you were about what was about to happen. So plus that, I have had a few friends in the past that have had liposuction themselves. And so I was aware of the things that they went through. This was way more extensive than any of the surgeries they'd had. But I had discussions previously with other people that have been in a similar situation, not quite as intense. So I had an idea of physically what it was going to be like. Emotionally, I know you well, I know myself well, so that side of it was never a concern. And I think the physical space that you chose to recuperate in was really well selected, other than a couple of little things that maybe in hindsight might have been better to do slightly differently that we can talk about later. But no, I think it landed quite well. I was more nervous than I thought when I dropped you off for you.
For the
When
surgery.
you go through something yourself, you prepare yourself, you're fine. But when there's somebody else that you're taking to experience something that you know is not going to be particularly pleasant, a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how old your babies are, you're still going to feel for them. Like you're an observer, like you're an outsider looking in. Like that's going to play into it.
And you really can't do anything to stop the intense discomfort. You can't. You can just be there to support, but you're not going to stop the situation.
Can't fix this, boo-boo.
No.
No. Too many kisses.
And also that like release of control, like sending me off into the surgery space. You're like, you at that point you were losing control of the situation, really.
Yeah, it was. I did feel much better when I came to visit you that first evening, and the staff there was fantastic. The nurses were amazing, and they made me feel really comfortable, and I wasn't the patient. Like, they were excellent. Yeah, and you were so stoic and well.
Point that you make, that they made you feel part of the process.
Yes, yeah. No, they were very, very good.
Yeah. For those of you who haven't listened to my surgery episode, it's pretty early on in our recording of the Lipoedema podcast, but I had my surgery with Dr. Nick Teo at Lipoedema Surgical Solutions. Dr. Teo is no longer there, and Dr. Teo no longer provides liposuction for lipedema as a procedure, but he was my surgeon and I thought he did an excellent job, and he had an excellent bedside manner, and I gave him 5 stars and still would. So moving on.
Yes.
I'm keen to ask about like if there were any moments, big or small, where I needed support that you didn't anticipate I would need.
I didn't anticipate the amount of oozing that would occur. And I sort of thought, is there something more I should be doing to help? Because that must have been uncomfortable to experience that and to even see it. You're looking at a wound that's oozing everywhere, and that must make you feel yucky. So that I wasn't anticipating that. I knew there'd be bruising, but I didn't realise there'd be an open wound where oozing would occur and fluid would escape. I mean, obviously it had to happen, but I didn't even think of that scenario. Yeah. And that felt uncomfortable for me. And I think I was more concerned about your mobility in the face of having so much oozing. You were so conscious of, I didn't want to make a mess anywhere. I wanted to be safe in moving, because with the oozing comes liquid, obviously, and you're trying to walk around, so you don't want to slip over. There's all those sorts of things that I wasn't anticipating.
Yeah. And I guess that's because of the type of liposuction that Dr. Teo performed. Like that's that water-assisted liposuction, whereas other liposuctions don't use as much fluid, and so you probably wouldn't have the same amount of oozing.
Right.
Yeah, it was quite graphic when you would walk around and there'd be like puddles on the floor.
So did you had bandages on or just compression?
I had period pads in the incisions to try and absorb the oozing, as well as my compression, and then bandages over the top. And it went through, like it did go through them.
And then plastic socks, like those booties, plastic booties to protect the flooring and furniture. Yeah. She was a sign.
And this was all stuff you organised beforehand?
Yeah, I was aware that the oozing would happen, I suppose, but to Mum's point, it still feels quite full on when you're seeing it in person and when you're having to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter how prepared you are.
Yeah.
Seeing it and experiencing it. Yeah.
And
And
there
I
were
must
times
say,
where you had to change my dressings and stuff for me because I wasn't
yeah,
able to reach.
yeah. And I must say she was very prepared. Like I didn't really have to go out and get anything to assist us at all. She really did her research very, very well. Other than I think there was some medication that they needed you to get an extra medication. I can't remember what that was for, T, but there was something.
Is that
I
the
don't think it
clotting
was
one?
pain
Was
med.
it the Clexane?
Clexane?
Yes.
Yeah, the injection.
Yeah, yes. So that was really the only thing that I needed to leave her for to go and collect. Yeah.
Mm.
So she was very well prepared, and I think that's crucial for the patient to really know what they're going to be experiencing and what they're going to need to assist them and to assist the carer.
Yeah, like we do have a natural communication style between us two, but I wonder whether, like, if somebody is preparing to have surgery where their care person is not their mum, what might be helpful for the carer to be able to prepare, do you think?
I think I would suggest that they attend at least one of the sessions with the patient so that they can ask any questions or they'll get a sense of what's about to happen. I think that would really be helpful. I know myself, if there's a medical situation in our family and you go with somebody else to attend the appointment, the person not going through the procedure or the process has a clearer train of thought and they can ask appropriate questions and they absorb the information perhaps better than the patient themselves because there's so much else going on in their mind. So I think that would be helpful and it will help the patient and the carer attune together better. As I said, Tiana was very prepared. She is a planner and she is a researcher by nature. So there was no way she was going to let anything slide.
Yeah.
And I know that of her. But if it was somebody else that I didn't know as well, I would want to be involved in the process of their selection to do the procedure.
Yeah, that's a good point. And get that rapport with the care team so that they know, because they welcomed you, but it's different for every surgeon you go to. There's different care teams, there's different rotations of staff.
Yeah. And when you go
Yeah.
for the follow-up sessions, there's different people again. So to have a familiarity with the place would be very helpful.
Yeah, even the footprint of the place, right? Navigating post-surgery.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I had mobility, but there were some times where I needed your assistance.
Yep. Yep. And I think having an appropriate car as well. My car had a fair bit of leg room for her to be able to stretch out. Some people who might have a smaller car, that could be a challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
You
'cause you
know?
can't bend properly, can you?
Yeah.
Well, it's really uncomfortable
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So I guess one of the points I was thinking about in having this discussion is when you're selecting where to stay, try and make it as close to the facility as possible so that there isn't too much traffic time, too much distance to travel when you're going to and from for your appointments or post-surgery.
Sounds like it would be really beneficial to have your carer involved in the process of planning, which includes the accommodation and
Absolutely.
like potentially if I'm not a massive planner, I would just be picking like the cheapest venue or something. But you as an outsider might be asking those curious questions that would make sense. Like, is there stairs? Is the shower walk-in or do you have to step up or is it close to the venue? Like just because you're not in the process, asking those questions might just help someone that needs to think about it a bit more.
And mind you, T, from memory, Surgical Solutions gave you some possibilities of accommodation that they seemed to think were appropriate.
Yeah.
So that would have been helpful for your selection.
It was actually a private Facebook group that was majority of people had experiences with Lipoedema Surgical Solutions, and there was an Excel file with a list of accommodation that they had used that they would recommend. So not just that they would use that wasn't fit for purpose, but that they would recommend. So, but I didn't ask, because I had that, I didn't ask Lipoedema Surgical Solutions for options because I had that resource. So potentially they do have options. I'm just not sure. But yeah, it was helpful to
And
hear from
having
others.
said that, though, there were still some limitations, I think, where we stayed for you. And I know you managed it well, but we did have some stairs to go up, which was quite hysterical watching you do it. But from the car park, having thought of that, I don't think I'd give that up because it was worth the giggles.
Lightens the mood a bit.
Yeah, we did have a bit of a sense of humor about it
Yeah.
because it was just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember that those low mood times were more when we were sitting down, like when we were resting, was those low mood times.
Well, you had time to think then, and then I think also keeping pain at bay is a huge thing. So, you know, the medication schedule is really important, and keeping that pain at bay helped the mood not get quite as low. Because when you're in pain, you're even lower.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it's so important. And like, over the years, I've learned a lot more about pain and the management of it. And once you skip pain and like your pain management and you get it, it's hard to get on top of. So even if you're not feeling like you need it, stick to that schedule because otherwise it's going to bite you in the butt.
No.
And I also wanted to go back to the importance, I think even when you go for a diagnosis, having a companion with you. Because as you said, Claire, like got the emotional side of it and you can take the information in and look at it more analytically because you're not as emotionally invested in what happens with that diagnosis or whatever's happening. So I think it's really vital to have someone with you.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're such a planner, like natural, and like I am too, but because my carer was such a planner, having like you would have absorbed that information in whatever means that you can absorb information, whether that, and you particularly like writing notes.
Yeah.
But
I'm old.
Pen and paper.
I like pen and paper too.
Traditional.
Yes.
So Claire, how do you and the person having surgery, like how would you communicate like boundaries, needs and comfort levels like during recovery? Like what communication worked well? I know you two already had quite a rapport, but so not everyone has the opportunity to have their mum, their sister, or even a husband. Like some people have to get friends involved. So how would they manage those tricky things you have to navigate?
Yeah, it is a tricky situation. I think communication is a huge key though. You need to select somebody who you can be 100% honest with without the fear of either upsetting them, hurting their feelings, offending them, or feel that you're demanding too much of them. She in particular is a very independent sort of person. She likes to be in control. She needs to be in control, actually. And so I very much know her cues and signals, when to back off and when not to. I think you do need to select someone that you can be that open and attuned with, because there are going to be times where you're going to feel really grumpy and really not well and frustrated, and you need to be able to let that out, because it doesn't help to just keep it all in. It just builds up and builds up even more, and part of your healing process is calmness.
Yeah. And you're going to have bad days anyway, like with all of the anesthetic, everything that's been going on in your body. So you need someone who can sit with you in those times and not expect anything from you.
No, that's right. And not be demanding themselves. I mean, some people are naturally demanding by nature. They're just like that.
Their presence is demanding.
Or they're over communicators. They just constantly chat, and you just need some peace and quiet. So select the person that's going to match you the best for that scenario.
Yeah. I guess you're also going to go into vulnerable situations where you're going to need to have help showering and toileting. So you've got to have the person with you that you don't mind them wiping your butt for you if needed.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, we really didn't have that situation. There were a few times that I'd help her up off the chair. I'd hang around outside the bathroom door just to make sure she didn't feel faint at all. But this one's just so independent. She pushes herself all the time. That's just her nature. But
we're both quite tenacious.
Yes.
And
yeah.
But if you're not that way and you are someone who does depend on other people a little bit more and feel a bit more vulnerable, you need to select someone who's willing to step in and do that for you.
Yeah. And that you're willing to have in that space with you as well. Really vulnerable. So what practical tasks or responsibilities ended up being the most important for you to manage, and how do you organize yourself around them?
Okay, so aside from the food, I did a little bit of research before we went and looked at the most nutritional things to have that were a bit light on the stomach. Because when you've had anesthetic, when you're having lots of medication, pain management, sometimes your appetite is different and some things might trigger you feeling not quite so well. So I did do a bit of research beforehand, and I was always going to make my nonna medicine anyway because that's just a staple in our household. But I did make sure we had high protein, both snacks as well as meal components, lots of veggies, antioxidants, that sort of thing. And then T could just pick and choose what she felt like at the time. I didn't want a scenario where I would need to leave her because she goes, "Oh, I feel like this," and I didn't have it prepared. So I tried to cover as many bases as I could there. Having said that, tea and chocolate have an affinity. So there were a couple of times where I snuck down the shop for her just for the chocolate. I felt that was more emotional comfort than anything else.
Needed.
That's needed. I don't think there's anything nutritionally in chocolate that I can't get from somewhere else.
No.
I actually felt the chocolate did the trick.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the biggest part is as on top of things as Tiana is normally anyway. She was a little foggy brain-wise. So the medication side of it, I think, was vital. And I wasn't as prepared for that as I would like to admit I was. So I think it would be important to understand what the medication strategy is and the timing, and have it written down almost like a spreadsheet that you can tick off if that helps you, or an app on your phone, something that you can keep control of when, what, how much, and where they need to have it, whether it's an injection or whether it's a tablet, whatever it is. Because she'd often say, "I know I've got to have meds, but I can't remember, did I have them or did..." So we needed to be on top of that. We got there, we did it well, but I would have liked to have been more prepared for that. Because I remember when my husband had a major motorbike accident, I had the spreadsheet going because the medication he was on and the regime was extraordinary. He couldn't keep on top of it because the medication was fiddling with his head. So I had to do it. And I should have prepared for that with T.
Yeah, I was the same with Dave's cancer journey. Like the amount of medication you get. And so I'd write down everything, but then I could also take that back to the oncologist and show them, like, this is what we've been doing. And they go, "Oh, well, let's up this. Let's take you off this." And so you have that raw data to take with you back to your care professional. And it's good for you. It's good for everybody to try to absolutely keep track of what you're doing with your meds. Yeah.
So for me, they're the two keys: the preparedness for the food situation and the medication.
Just on the medication for our listeners who haven't yet gone through surgery, and this might not be the protocol for everyone, but there was an anti-inflammatory, a paracetamol, a strong pain medication, a stronger pain medication. I think I had 2 different kinds of strong pain medications. One was more for night, one was for daytime because it was less drowsy. Although, to be honest, any of those strong pain medications make you really drowsy. There was the Clexane, which was the injection, which was highly unpleasant. But now I've gotten used to taking needles from the Clexane. And I can't remember, Mum, did you administer my Clexane injection?
No, I did not. I can't remember. I think you must. I don't know.
You just sat there and watched me really anxious about injecting my Clexane.
It just happened. Maybe you were doped up enough that it just happened.
Yeah.
Mum said I have to do this. I'll do it.
And then it was like supplementation. I remember having what are they called? Like a hydration. What are they called? Hydration.
Hydrolyte.
Yeah, like a hydrolyte and protein shakes and like
all your usual stuff.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things to.
It is a lot. And the brain does fog with anesthetic and pain. So if the carer can be on top of it with you, that will be helpful.
Yeah. And I guess with that, as you're saying, with the brain fog, like that mental load and the emotional load that places on you, how did you keep yourself grounded through all of that?
Well, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
No.
And you also can't be burning yourself out. Like you can't be give. As we know as mums, you can't just give. So what are some tips there that, helped you go, okay.
Well, I'm a lover of music, so I made sure I had music tracks that I could sit and listen to. We watched some mindless TV together and found some series that we liked watching, so that was good. We had lovely people come visit and share lunch with us, so that was really nice.
We launched a podcast.
Yeah.
The bed that I was sleeping in was very comfortable. Yeah. Tiana had only just introduced me to an eye mask for sleeping, and so that was brilliant. I never done that before, so that was really good.
Do you still use the eye mask?
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
Oh, that's part of Tiana's hygiene, her sleep hygiene.
Every night.
That's great.
This is actually our last question. We are like almost at 30 minutes. So this has been such a great episode. So just looking back, what would you tell someone choosing their carer about what to look for, ask about, or prepare together before surgery?
Wow, I think we've sort of covered that in just our general conversation, haven't I? But to reiterate, I would probably say choose someone who matches with you, who's on a level playing field of understanding and compassion and willingness to just do what needs to be done. No questions asked. You don't need to fight with someone to get your needs met, if you know what I mean. If you've got someone who's constantly saying, oh, look, I wouldn't do it that way. Why don't you do it this way? That's not really helpful. That discussion can happen beforehand in the preparedness. Attend the sessions together, discuss it, come up with some scenarios that could occur and how you would solve it beforehand. Because when you're in it, you just need it to go as smoothly as possible without any angst. So I think all that needs to happen beforehand.
I was definitely going to say something and it's gone from my mind. To that point, I'm lucky in that we have a pretty good communication style and, mutual respect, I suppose, for each other. But I think one of the things that really helped me having you and having my mum as my carer was that you can anticipate need when I'm being a bit too independent and pushing myself, but it's taken in a more way of loving and caring rather than what you mentioned before was well, I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it this way. It's it's more of a curious, do you think that might be the best approach?
That compassionate
would you
approach.
mind if I give something a try, it was more gentle?
Yes, I think if your carer can see the cues and action those cues, you have specific cues that I know ever since you were little. It's that look, it's that head tilt. I know exactly, and you can anticipate them.
And also, I suppose from a person having surgery perspective is that being able to be emotionally vulnerable in the space that you're recovering with that person, and that person is not there to take it away, as much as that would have been really hard for you emotionally not to be able to take that away. But you did a good job of holding that space of just sitting there and letting me have those blue moments.
Yeah, you're allowed to feel crap. That's okay.
Yeah. It's a reaction to all that you've been through. Your body's gonna feel terrible.
Well, you did an amazing job being my carer, and Mum's not allowed to be carer for anybody else, only me. And I hope
we're not hiring her out.
We're not hiring her out. Yeah, she's not for hire. But yes, I was so grateful to have you as a carer. You are the best carer ever, and the non-medicine worked a treat.
It's delicious.
Delicious. So thank you so much. And thank you for coming on and doing this episode for us.
Thank you, Claire.
Love you, Belle.
Lipoedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema Podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.